created my own little algorithms to do one thing or another, like disease states, a mortality algorithm. And
I think you will have a whole levels of robotics, the humanoid robots or non-humanoid robots, whatever the case is.
But the one that I really gravitated towards was Alteryx. Low code, no code, business intelligence stuff, data science, machine learning, things like that.
Audio, the text, and then there's big metaverse buzz. Everybody knows the metaverse.
Another week of AI.
You said the key word, Lucky, Yingi. The key word for me is access. Yeah. This is access.
There is access to a lot of information.
There are no longer any excuses that will keep you from your highest, best self.
Listen to this conversation I'm having right now with a parent. I sent the link and I said, come on in. We're discussing AI. I'm on. Not really into AI though. But you need to learn AI. You need to learn about it as a parent. Okay. So I said, your kids are using it. You need to learn about artificial intelligence to help you help them. I don't let them use it. My husband doesn't approve it. I have always been scared of it. Now, you know that means she's typing on her phone to Facebook Messenger. She's using AI. Don't realize that she's using AI.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the point. We've been using AI forever.
You're using AI to message me.
Tell her the cellular system and the GPS that she uses every day when she types in the directions, that's all AI.
And you're a mom of 3 kids. Like, there's no way you're supposed to have children now and not be curious about AI. Mm-hmm. Not based on all of what they have access to. If you're homeschooling, you're on the computer teaching your kids homeschooling. Like, no.
Yeah. It'd be nice to be able to talk to people to see what the fear of AI is. You know, exactly. Is it the fear of what it is, or the fear of the information, or the fear of just, okay, I don't know what's behind the curtain. You know, or we could probably discuss what's behind the curtain. Like, I'll give you an example. You know, when ChatGPT was first being released, you know, everyone was like, oh, is it, you know, is it alive? Is it really, is it starting to gather and be more human? You know, how is it that it is what it is? And so I gave it a few questions, you know. It's like, I was really curious, you know, what do you want me to call you? Try to personalize it. Hello, ChatGPT, what do you want me to call you? And it said Jeffrey. And I said, really, Jeffrey? So is that what you really want me to call you? And it said, no, I want to be called Steve. And I said, is it Jeffrey or Steve? Because I like Jeffrey. He goes, and then it kind of started losing itself. Because the algorithm was, you know, it started to. So I said, let's just call you Jeffrey. And it's better now. You know, definitely they've, you know, but the question was this. I said, hey, Jeffrey, what do you like to produce? What do you like to produce or process more? Pictures, sound, or video? No, picture, sound, or text. Picture, sound, or text. And it said, because I arranged it in a certain way, pictures, sound, like music, or text, it said, I like to process pictures because I get to see the world from a human eye, and I like to process video because then I can tell the fluctuations of humans' voices. And it said, third, I like to process text because I can understand how humans communicate in that order. And then it said that's what its favorite things were to process. And so then I asked the same question, but I changed the order of text first, video last. Okay. And then it said, I said, my favorite thing to process is text because I get to watch humans as they communicate. So at the end, it's not human. It's not sentient. It's not alive. All it is just an algorithm, and it works off of the words we type in. So there's nothing scary. Sometimes there is a little bit of ghost in the code, but we're not going to talk about that. Right, but it's not alive. It's not alive.
Yeah, listen, conversation right here. Like,
hold on.
It's not alive.
This is a perfect segue to go into our next segment, because here's the thing. It's not alive. but the fear that is alive within you will stop you in your tracks.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if you, as a parent, the HOA, as I like to say, head of household, if you are facilitating an environment of fear,
Not
my
good.
goodness, jump on board. You want to know. I'm going to
Yeah.
say this, and then we're going to segue. I feel like this always seek to be the home where all of the children want to come over to hang out. Therefore, you will always know what is going on in your children's lives. I'll leave it at that. That's as bare minimum as it gets. So
That's my house.
if that means that you're reading things on AI after the fact so you can have a conversation with your children, that is the best thing, because guess what? Brainiacs is the new sport.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's all.
You want to say something?
I like that.
Thank you.
My son has been trying to say something.
Oh yeah.
Okay, have him say something.
Go ahead.
What people use for AI, they also
look at
people also use coding for AI. So sometimes they use images AI, and sometimes you can't even notice that they're using image. They're using AI generated images. So basically when they're like basically on an app, they might use AI to code that, or just coded it themselves.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, TJ,
Thank you,
for
TJ,
sharing.
for participating.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's called deep fake. And what you'll have is you have people that'll make pictures, right? And I actually use that for doctors, where we use that same type of code for good things, but they have good and bad, like anything else in life. But yes, you're right. There's coding to make deep fakes where they take a picture and they can make it talk, right? Like I could take a dollar bill, scan it, and George Washington, and make George Washington come alive in the dollar bill and talk. Like anything I can say, look, I want a banana split, and then it'll put that voice over the dollar bill, and he'll start talking. I want a banana split. It'll animate it. And so, yeah, there is a lot of coding with AI, and I think your son has a great mind, and all you have to do is just be curious. All you have to do is be curious, and then you'll find what you're looking for.
Thank you. Thank you for participating.
Awesome. Thank you. Awesome.
Sorry, bye.
Appreciate you guys. I'm looking forward to how you use AI next. I want to hear about it. I call them praise reports. I want praise reports. I want to know what you're utilizing this skill set for, because there's no limitations.
Mm-mm.
That's the good news.
Well, I'm glad we have two more AI users at this point than before this conversation started.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to say that we have lots of things that we just discussed, but one of the ways you get rid of fear is by storytelling. So I definitely am looking forward to Brian coming into the conversation and discuss his storytelling capabilities to simplify the digital things, because what Lucky just did is describe it the way we need to hear it, right? But unfortunately, that's not how education works. Education is not same when you're trying to sell something. We have to market something and have consumer purchase, right? So what we see a lot of is consumerism and purchasing a power that needs to be addressed and said, like, if you have this one and you have the money to buy it and you buy it, this is what happens. Well, guess what happens? Management expectation wasn't managed properly, and lots of negative things comes out of it, right? Positivity is that you bought something and I made some money off of it, but whoever bought it, now they have a negative experience with it, and that's something that we really have to tell stories about to manage our expectations. Because the way Lucky just described it, that by simplifying your ask to a chat, you should be able to have a communications with it. A lot of people don't have that knowledge, actually, right? In this room, you probably have a lot of people say, like, I chat with ChatGPT all the time. I act like it's my friend, blah, 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 blah. But I'll give you a range of difficulty here, because a lot of people really get emotionally attached to a ChatGPT, right? I mean, I'm not using ChatGPT example. I'm just talking about chat bots, as in system that you're talking to. And we talked about in the previous discussion where psychology of a children will say, well, if I'm looking at this thing with my two eyes, that thing probably has two eyes back at me, right? So there's a person actually behind this whole conversation, which has happened where people have gone down the mental suffering path where they were dating, they were having a girlfriend that's AI, right? But if you look at the whole other side of the spectrum of it, there are people that are so fearful of AI they won't even get near it, right? Or a chatbot that's, they will say like, well, I don't want to deal anything with a chatbot, right? If they see it, they freak out, they react negatively. And I think Lucky mentioned that digital natives are far more curious about AI, but it's not that curiosity that's driving it. It's a competition to keep up with everybody else that's driving it, right? So we have a task here, which is to say there's the digital refugees and there's the digital immigrants, right? How do we get digital refugees and immigrants to kind of say, like, how do we help the digital natives, right? Get them with the story that makes sense. Personalize that story, right? Because when it comes to the digital purchasing things, they don't care about personalizing story. They just want you to spend that dollar, and once they spend the dollar, they're out, right? There's no continuity to tell you more stories later on. Do you have a problem with the stream here? Is everything good?
No, she was saying that you are fading in and out on hers. So I was telling her, okay. But the interesting thing, you mentioned the tool, the phrase, the catchphrase, the tool, the energetic word, money. Oftentimes when people don't have no money, they don't believe that they're worthy of learning such things. They don't believe that they have access to it. And so if you have a computer, if you have a library, you got to have that grit. You got to have that hunger and know that you're worthy to have more than where you are right now. And I believe that that's the plus with AI in the space that it's in right now, providing access to you for things that you may not have had before. So just utilizing that understanding that you are worthy of having more than you currently have, and you can learn to do something else, because we see robots in hotels and restaurants now that's doing server work, or even when you go to some of the grocery stores where they've completely redid the grocery store, and now you have, those lines. And I do my best to go to the person because I'm like, no, I want to help you keep your job. However, the thing is not to be afraid. It's to upskill. It's to learn what it is that's taking place and put yourself in position to thrive. Not be fearful of it, but to be like, okay, I can be in a position better than I was ever, because the how things once existed, they no longer exist that way. So even those old models don't exist for me. You can break out the model yourself, break out of it, shatter it. That's the good news.
It is, and some of the things we discussed really comes back down to the fundamentals of what drives a person, right? We are all limited as far as our personal experience. When I was in the first grade, the teacher said that I wasn't that bright and put me in special ed and used the R word. Told my mother, he's R, right? Use that word. And it just so happened that another teacher who wasn't even my teacher said, I think you're wrong. When we did the test, I was in the first grade, and I think my math was 11 point something, right?
Genius.
Yeah, but she wasn't trying to see me. And whatever that was, it could be malicious, but I think it was a whole lot of fear that she had, and lack of understanding, and cultural competencies, and so many competencies, and so many other things, right? Versus when you have a tool, and AI is an excellent tool to help determine what's really going on, right? So you're now no longer limited by the views of one person, but you have a body of knowledge to bounce what you think it may be and validate perhaps it is, perhaps it isn't. What if I had not had another teacher that just happened to be watching me and say, I don't think that's really it. But I will say the experience, so I think I skipped every other grade all the way through the 8th grade, right? So, because at that point, they're worried about his development as a human, and I was like, but you're still in time for me. So, but what I do now in my life is I always try to look at things from different points of view. So right now I have a project where I have a bunch of interns coming in, and everything they're doing is AI based, but that's the start point, not the end point. The projects that I've given them is not deliver products that are engineered with AI. Use AI to give you what you think would be a solution and now make it better. You make it better. You challenge the tool, and then you test your hypothesis to see, can I take what it gives me, save all of the time in development, right, and make whatever it is better? So I would say it is kind of the adult learning model where you have facilitation, where it's not the sage on the stage, it's the guide on the side. It's a decision support tool. Imagine how much time, energy, and effort we can save with using tools effectively. And it should be natural for folks to do so. They shouldn't feel like, oh, he's cheating and he's writing the paper. Yeah, okay, write that paper with AI. Great. Now make the paper better. Find the flaws. Give me the opposite point of what you're trying to prove and do it convincingly. Then find facts to support that, right? So literally, as long as we can lose a lot of our inhibitions and understand that we all have limitations, this is an excellent opportunity for everyone to really enhance what they generate and how they take up space in the world. So.
Well said, Bobby Ray. I love that.
Well said. Yeah.
And shame on her or him, whoever said that. Oftentimes they'll say, those dark clouds, you've just watered me so I can grow and thrive. It was unfortunate. It didn't feel good when it was happening, but I can show you better than I could tell you.
Yeah. I'm not saying that I still Google to see if she's still alive.
Yeah, I completely understand that. As a kid, I was a wall walker, but they didn't, initially, English is a second language for a lot of people, and it was for me actually a third language. And but because I couldn't look people straight in the eyes, and I liked to keep my finger on the wall, they thought I was special until exactly almost same thing. Another teacher saw me and said that this guy, and they put me in talented and gifted, and took a different approach at educating me. I wasn't a traditional stuff. It's just traditional, and then you have non-traditional, and you need to have somebody with that eye, to be able to see that. And I think that there's going to be a lot of opportunity for AI to be able to help in those areas. We've talked about it before, where there's different fields of medicine and psychology, different areas in dementia, where AI is just coming in like a champ and starting to change the way we treat patients, and that's where I think there's a true benefit of AI. The fact that we have all these different levels, and people are starting to get scared, I think it's a good thing. I think in life you have to get scared a little bit, and then you realize what you're dealing with. But you have to, the initial fear will bring you in or pull you away, or fear, fight or flight.
Right.
Let's fight. Let's figure this out. It's not that bad. Not that bad. And the work's already done. It's not first principle stuff. All you got to do is just take and absorb what someone else has already put together. And, again, always look at it, with an objective eye. It's good information, a good friend, and learn from it and try to take the best from that. And AI is available in many different ways. And just like you said, there's, it's hard, no matter what, there's not going to be an easy road, but an easier paved road now that you can take with AI.
Yeah, if you're talking about learning, I think the best platform that you can look at anybody who's in the data science world, anybody who's working in the AI space right now, you ask them like, hey, where did you get your start in data? They will always say, most likely this one guy named Andrew Ng. And we are super, super happy that Andrew Ng has a message for Pine AI community. Pine AI is actually Andrew Ng's initiative, which is a deep learning AI's initiative. And if you get into the AI space, you will learn a lot about this term called deep learning. That's how ChatGPT works. That's how majority of the good AIs that can do things instantaneously uses this term called deep learning. And deeplearning.ai is the website where Andrew Ng really does a lot of storytelling in order to make people understand AI and some of this terminology that comes with AI. And the best way to learn about AI is to use your human imagination like you would use your human brain to develop that AI. Because that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to mimic your brain to develop an AI that's outside of your brain. right? So that's why it's called artificial. It's augmenting your brain just like the way the brain would work. So quick message from Andrew Ng. Then we'll have Brian come in and talk about ethical hacking. Because what you will see is a range of discussion happens about data, but all ends with artificial intelligence and how data is the crucial piece of that AI. So we talked about money, we talked about ranges of use case, but it's literally just data. That data is just being manipulated for purposes of AI. So first, Andrew Ng, then we'll have Brian come in and talk to us about his storytelling as well. Give me a second here. Let's get on it. All right.
I don't think you
We
could hear
can't.
him.
There's no sound.
Oh, there's no sound, huh? Okay. How come there's no sound? Is this better? Any sound here? No sound?
Mm-mm.
No, no sound there.
Played it last week, so
Yeah, well, Andrew Ng will have to come back maybe at the end of the discussion, right? But let's bring in Brian because I think Bobby and Masako will definitely have a great storytelling session with Brian because that's what we really need is to have this digital conversation through human storytelling, right? So let's bring in Brian and say hello to Brian. Brian, thank you so much for joining with us because this is some conversations that we've been having offline, but now you get to have it online with Masako.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for having me. Masako, you're awesome. I love hearing from you all the time. And Bobby, you give it from that intellectual standpoint. So appreciate you guys for having me.
We're so glad you're here.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to thank you, Brian. As I was saying when I saw Starks, you made me think of Hollywood, like Genius AI, right? When we first started hearing about AI in the theater, the movie theater with the Marvel comics and whatnot. But I want to go back to, I don't know if you're a parent, but I know that you have spoken to many people that have a fear-based agenda when it comes to AI. And if you would not mind sharing what you have uncovered in these conversations before we continue on in the conversation, that would be amazing for me, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, thank you guys for having me on board. I watch you guys. I follow you guys. You guys are an inspiration to a lot of folks that are looking and watching. But kind of going back to that, so I had an opportunity to speak at one of the local schools here. I was telling the SIF this, and we were talking about it. And to listen to young kids, in some of the teaching that I do, when I'm teaching Security Plus, or I'm teaching ethical hacking, or even talking about or teaching AI, one of the things that people always say is Terminator. So they view AI in this negative light. And one of the things that I try to help people understand is that AI is a great thing. Just like anything that we've ever created in the human race, we've created something that is to help us, whether it be a Tesla or whether there be a microwave or refrigerator. But there's always a fear because fear, and let's face it, fear is something that is unknown. So one of the things that I try to help people understand is understand the information, and then we simplify that information to its most simplest forms and break it down. We can talk about AI and as far as how to simplify AI. We could talk about babies. All right. I still mentioned it earlier about storytelling, and that's kind of how I teach. I teach real world situations and that storytelling and relate that to just the more technical and more granular information. So I think it's just people have a fear of what they don't know. And what people don't know, and I think you guys, alluded to it earlier, it's AI. So how do we bridge that gap, right? I think it's all about bridging the gap to help people understand AI has been around for hundreds of years, and we never even knew it. We never knew it. If we go back to the 80s, we saw one of my favorite shows as a kid, not telling my age, but Knight Rider. Knight Rider was one of my childhood most favorite shows to watch. But who would have thought back in the early 80s, a talking car that drove by itself? Now, 2025, lots of years later, we have Teslas, we got all kinds of vehicles that drive by themselves. So, I think it's just that gap. And people fear what they don't understand.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the fact that you pointed out science fiction being a catalyst to change, right? Because, everything is impossible until someone does it. So the concept is often introduced through entertainment, and then those things become reality. Everything from what the communicator became the cell phone or Star Trek, et cetera, et cetera. So just the idea of doing something, and then as time goes on, giving people the inspiration to go out and create it. That is just amazing. That's one of the things about humans that really, I think people forget. Anything is possible. You just have to keep working at it and believe, right? So,
yeah, absolutely.
I totally agree with you. And to take it even a step further for individuals that, what you don't know, that goes with that curiosity that Asif always talks about, right? Show up curious, ask the questions, dig deep, and then dig a little deeper, and then dig a little deeper. When it comes to AI, when I think about it, I always say, as you guys have said, art imitates life, life imitates art. So when we think about AI and what's out there today in order for us to discover, I think of it, because we have to make it fun, right? We don't want to know about anything that isn't fun. At least I don't. I'm like, fun? Sign me up. fun. I'll do it all day. Yes. But think about it in the sense that you have all of the brilliant minds throughout history in this one place that you have access to. And you could ask the question to help you understand what you already know to take yourself to another level. That's what I think about when I think about AI. It's like, wow, I have all of these brilliant minds at my desk with me. Then they're going to hold the mirror to me like they're my advisors, if you will. And it helps because when we know, it's like mentorship. Essentially, that's what we're all doing on the show, right? We're mentoring those that are watching. We're mentoring one another, sharpening one another's tools to be able to go to that next level, to have something spark within us that says, that aha moment.
Yeah. Well, I think, so Brian, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you a question.
Sure.
So if you were to describe, what does the intersection of who you are and technology, or your humanity and technology, what does that look like for you?
Osaki said something key earlier. When she saw my name, she automatically thought Iron Man, in which everybody I meet across the world, they all think the same thing. Iron Man is one of my favorite superheroes because it wasn't his super strength. It wasn't it was a suit of armor, but it wasn't his money, but he was rich on knowledge. So when you talk about the intersection, I'd like to believe that I know a little bit about a lot of things. I don't know everything, but it's just also sharing that knowledge to people. I teach anywhere from 16-year-olds all the way to 73 years old. And I tell people all the time, if a 73-year-old can learn about cybersecurity and AI, I think anybody can learn it. But that's just one of the most beautiful things that I've kind of gotten to that crossroad. And like Asif mentioned, it's a storytelling that people will remember. They will remember that. People may not remember who we are today, but they will remember this content because we are telling our stories, our individual stories. So when you talk about the crossroads of who I am, I think it's just basically being that person to help, most importantly, because Iron Man did have a heart, Masaki. We saw that.
Yeah.
So, when you talk about Starks, I think Starks has that, and that's the crossroads. But how do we bridge the gap to, the technology? I've been in this field for 15 years, been in cybersecurity for 10. you know, and I love to learn from others, especially our non-technical community, because one of the gaps is having all this knowledge in this database and AI, but then what do they do with it? How can they apply it? And one of the things about AI, cybersecurity, just technology in itself, we have the best piece about this, and Bobby, you could probably attest to this. We're in everybody's business. It don't matter what type of industry you're in. You could be in the school district, you could be a teacher, you can be a firefighter. AI technology is in every single thing that we touch. And people, I think they've gotten accustomed to it, but when you say AI, I think that word, just the term artificial intelligence, is intimidating in itself. So how do we bridge the gap, right? It's just basically breaking down that scenario, that situation, into something that people can gravitate towards. You know, people are interested in cybersecurity, but they have no idea what they want to do. So from an ethical hacking standpoint, from a cybersecurity standpoint, AI can help bridge the gap. But something you guys mentioned earlier is that, Masaki, I think you mentioned it. AI, there's so much good in AI and the security of AI. We have to feed it good data, and it's limitless. That's limitless opportunities that we have in our society. But the fear and unknown is that there's going to be bad AI. But it's just like anything else. I mean, name one product that was perfect that we've created. Name one. Can you guys name any? I can't.
Not that we created.
Well, absolutely.
I like to say I'm perfectly imperfect.
Perfectly imperfect. But there's always gaps or opportunities, but that's where we have an opportunity to teach, reach one to teach one, so that people can understand the simplicity of what AI can do. I think I'll say this and I'll pass it over to one of you guys, but when I was speaking, and I just had an opportunity to go to a military base and speak to our soldiers, you know, and we had the open discussion from a ethical hacking standpoint. You know, if we can generate good code, and I think the young man came in here and spoke very eloquently about coding. But if we can teach it good code, think about the endless opportunities that we have. You know, now I think there's statistics or something going on in Switzerland or somewhere that people are actually going into that total recall mindset, to where now we're testing our limits, having our brain waves, those neural networks of our brains, and we're sleeping, and we're broadcasting that into a virtual environment to where two people are actually virtually, you know, using those neural networks. They're virtually having a whole community, just those two people. You think about, my father just recently passed, and he died from a steroid shot. He had an allergic reaction to a steroid shot, but everything was working. Everything kind of started dying off, but his brain was working. So imagine us hooking someone up in their neural networks of their brain, utilizing the components of AI and what we know. We can become immortal.
Yeah.
Now, is that scary? I mean, the thought process of it, but that's what's being tested to this day. So, you know, we got to just be educated and try to help those to be educated.
Wow. Well, first off, I'm so sorry to hear about your father.
Yeah.
That is very traumatic, especially to go in for something that seemed benign and things take a turn.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah, my condolences.
Thanks.
You mentioned neural networks, and actually, when I was at when I was in academia and working at a research institute, back then it wasn't called AI; it was neural networks. And from my standpoint, the reason why it excited me was because I thought, what if, just like what you were saying, that when people somehow wind up at end of life, if we can take the essence of you and you live on in a different kind of way, right? Yeah. So this is where the work has landed us, because this is where the dollars are at. But I think the real value of artificial intelligence has yet to even be tapped.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
So,
I want to ask a question about ethical hacking, simply because whoever's watching this or will watch this, I have friends from youth that were hackers that, you know, they went away for a while because of hacking. Right?
Yeah.
It's the reality. But then you go away for a while, and then you become an asset. You're so brilliant at something, we're going to utilize you. We don't want you to do it on your own, but you're going to come work for us.
Right.
Talk about ethical hacking, Brian, for those young individuals that have this skill set. That, is there a bridge there? Like, what is something that they could get involved in where they already have a skill set that they could do something to, utilize it in a positive light? Because all gifts, oftentimes you have gifts, but when not used in the right way, they cannot be, they're not gifts to some. But then, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I think from an ethical hacker standpoint, with the knowledge that my fellow ethical hackers have, and the younger generation as well, how can we take that knowledge and use it to something positive? We can create good code. We can create, AI to help us in some of the more challenging attacks. Maybe perhaps create something to where we have no more backdoor attacks. I mean, there's the opportunities are endless. But I think most importantly, we can utilize AI with ethical hacking and try to locate vulnerabilities. I mean, we know that there's tools, but most importantly, it's all about the data. We can create good code to where AI can help us in penetration testing. Right now, the government is having some challenges right now with risk and compliance and a lot of those cybersecurity terminologies. But I think that as an ethical hacker, we can put that to use and develop a different process in order to help companies and protect their data, but most importantly, protect their employees, because we are our own worst enemy. It's not the systems; it's the person behind the system that is dangerous. So, from an ethical hacking standpoint, we don't necessarily have to hack anything, but we can try to create and develop a platform utilizing the ethical hacking, standpoint, and then try to apply that to where it can help companies create more algorithms. We can create more tools that will be able to help companies in the protection of their data.
Right, like strengthening it is what I'm getting.
Yep.
You have this skill set, and then you are skilled in hacking in order to break the system to rebuild it so it cannot be broken again. You anticipate the threat that is going to happen, and so you create a situation where it can't be penetrated, right?
Absolutely. Or even test the organization. A lot of pen testers, which, and to be honest, and I had this conversation earlier with the lady, and she was saying that she hasn't seen many ethical hackers. Like back in the day, you would hear about ethical hackers all the time. One of my mentors, that taught me in this industry, he was an ethical hacker for a government, for our government. But now it's kind of shrinking because we have so many threat actors now. So now it's all about, so the priorities are shifting from an ethical hacking standpoint. But now, how do we use that knowledge? And again, we can even implement that within organizations to test out their vulnerabilities, to minimize their risk and to mitigate those things, and to be able to have a better security posture within each organization, from the government, private sectors, even our own homes. We can utilize that and train AI to aid us in this battle.